Welcome to Zoom O'Clock with your host, Tessy Antony de Nassau. This podcast brings you enlightening discussions with leading experts and public figures directly to your ears.
Welcome to Zoom O'Clock with your host, Tessy Antony de Nassau. I have an absolute fabulous woman on my podcast today from beautiful Luxembourg, Miss Djuna Bernard. Djuna, welcome.
Hello, Tessy. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We will be speaking Luxembourgish a little bit now for the next minute or so, and then change again to English just to accommodate the wider audience. But because we are both very patriotic and we love Luxembourg, we thought we'd start in Luxembourgisch. Also, Djuna, ich werde dich vorstellen auch, wie geht es da an wie war dein Weekend? Dass wir sind an der Christsaison?
Ja, effektiv. Also mir geht gut, fängt den effektiv schon ohne bisschen an so eine Pre-Christmas-Stimmung zu kommen. Sind die echt Christmärkte, die zu Luxemburg abgehen, und das ist dann immer eine coole Stimmung. Ich war der Weekend um Croix-Rouge Bazar, war definitiv eine Institution, als wenn ich von Luxemburg aus, und aus den Wolfer Bücher. Das heißt, ich war gut in der W und schon viel Shopping gemacht, viel Bücher geguckt, Christkado gekauft, von daher richtig gute Weekend.
Oh, schön. Ja, der Croix-Rouge Bazar, das ist auch immer meine Favorites gewesen. Da sind schon mal ganz gern hingegangen. Das Weekend habe ich leider gepackt, Schwarzer zu Lützeburg. Meine Eltern hatten ein volles Programm, Familienprogramm. Und hat leider das nicht gepackt, das war ganz schön. Schon noch gesehen, dass bei Let's Speak Up gegen die Violenzen von daheim auch und sexuell dabei war. Erzähl also ein bisschen davon.
Ja, genau. Also das Orange Week, der ja weltweit stattfindet, die darauf aufmerksam ist, Gewalt gegen Frauen, Violence domestique, also Gewalt daheim, aber auch auf der Straße, auch auf der Arbeitsplatz. Und das ist einfach noch leider eine große Realität am Alltag von vielen Frauen am medischer queer durch die Welt. Und das ist eine Awareness Week, die stattfindet und die am Anfang ein Samstag mit der Marche de Solidarité lanciert wurde zu Lützeburg, wo effektiv auch viele Politiker, mehr auch der Grand Duc und Grand Duchesse dabei waren, für das Thema aufmerksam zu machen. Das ist ganz wichtig, dass wir immer darüber schwätzen, dass es kein Tabuthema ist, dass betroffene Frauen wissen, bei wem sie sich melden können, dass sie ein Gefühl haben, dass Gesellschaft open ist, solidarisch ist, und dass es natürlich auch dann die nötigen Hilfsmechanismen gibt. Da sind wir als Politiker natürlich auch gefordert. Und wenn das ein Thema, was man natürlich als Jungfrau immens im Herzen leidet.
Super. Da gehen wir auf die englische Seite rüber. Let me introduce you and the fantastic work you have been doing and you are doing in Luxembourg and around Luxembourg. So MP Djuna Bernard, she is the vice president of the Chambre des députés in Luxembourg. Then she's also a scout in Luxembourg, which I think is amazing. As an old veteran, military veteran myself, I really love it to be in nature and in the forest. And the scouts in Luxembourg are extremely busy under the haute patronage of His Royal Highness Prince Guillaume of Luxembourg. And then we have, of course, the coordinator of the WOSM Area of Operation, the spreading our message. You are the board member of Mérite, Jeunesse, Luxembourg, and you're the former president of the National Youth Council of Luxembourg. Other than the most important task you have as well is that you are the co-president of the Green MP party in Luxembourg. I hope I didn't forget anything. Switching between languages now. You could see that I have had a little bit of a tongue whistling there, but I hope that we're getting on track now. It's Monday after all, and just heating up these vocal cords is a good thing. So, dear Djuna, as we were saying, you talked about Orange Week against sexual violence, specifically also when it comes to violence at home and different other kind of violences against women from in Luxembourg, but also from around the world. Is that something that is also important to the Green Party in Luxembourg?
Well, definitely. Then that's a very good question, because if you wonder about the NDA, what the Green Party is about, and it's definitely a feminist party that we're in. The Green Party exists in many countries all across Europe, some across the world. Obviously, biodiversity and the fight against climate change is amongst our core topics, but also feminism. Equality as subject. We are a very feminist party. We have more women in parliament than men, which is quite something in the Luxembourgish parliament. We're the only ones. But are also topics we feel very close to civil society. So a bottom-up party linked to many grassroots movement, NGOs, obviously coming from climate movements, but also about international aid and NGOs that are working with different countries in the south.
Very, very interesting. So you briefly mentioned that you are one of the only political parties in Luxembourg who has quite a very strong female representation in the Chambre des députés. Tell us about that. Also for you, you're very young, you're very ambitious, you are known to be a push-forward person, someone that doesn't take no for an answer, which I love because it takes one to know one. I'm actually the same. And so how is that for you to be in the Chambre des députés? Also as co-president of your party, when having so much other male energy around you, and how do they make you feel? How was it for you to get started there? And what do you think still needs to change?
Well, there are many important questions. Well, first of all, I am 29 now. I'm in parliament for 3 years. So I started at the age of 26 and I am still youngest member of parliament. And on the same time, I'm the vice president of parliament, which is, I think, a very important signal towards the outside world, because it means also that a young female person is not only sitting somewhere there and looking nice for the picture, but actually a decision maker in politics and is standing up front at the photos, at meetings, and also discussing with partners and international contacts that are visiting us in parliament. So I think that's already a very big step that we took in Luxembourg, and I am fully aware of this important role also as a symbol towards other girls and women who want to join parliament and politics one day. So it's important to send out this message of strong women in politics in general. Mm-hmm. As you said, also by asking the questions, it's still not a normal situation of having equality in parliament. At the moment, we are having 33% of women in parliament. So we're not yet where we should be of having 50%. So that's definitely a task that all of us in politics throughout the different parties have to tackle. And it's obviously a politician gets elected by voters. So we have to promote women already before the election campaigns and give them all the tools and trainings they need to be upfront to run as candidates and also get a chance to be elected. I have experience in my party a very positive and empowering situation. I joined when I was 16. As a young person, we had always means to discuss really with other MPs, with the decision makers of the party. We had a strong voice. And also as a woman, for example, we have the rule that if we have a big assembly, there's always men and women, one after the other, that is speaking. So already like the system is already built up so that women know that they get the floor and they don't have to fight for it among many men that often dominate the public sphere and dominate communication. So we as a party took the decision to institutionalize already gender equality in terms of speaking rules, for example. And I think it's things like that on a systemic base that we need to tackle, other than also empowering girls and women to join parties, to become active, and to dare to speak up. And I think that's an important message that I want to send out, that my party is sending out. And I think we're seeing a change already in Luxembourgish Parliament by more and more young people joining, but also more and more women joining Parliament. So I see definitely positive change, but there's still some way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 33% is great, but it's not good enough for what we request, because, as Luxembourg, as other countries around, Luxembourg is made up of 50% of men and 50% of women. And I think the representation should reflect that also when it comes to politics, because what I like about Luxembourg is that Luxembourg is such a beautiful yet innovative and fast-moving country, where legislation and administration, it is slow, the administration process, but it's not as slow as the UK, for example, or other countries such as France, just because we are so small. And I think we should take advantage of leading by being a role model with the other European countries to show we can make this happen, kind of become that sample size example to others, where we say, we have done it, copy us, do the same. But only that can happen if we do truly are the role model in the European Union by being 50-50, what do you think? When will that happen?
Well, we have the next elections coming up in 2023, so 2 years to go. And I really hope the other parties in Luxembourg are already preparing strong young women to join leadership. I think there's some movement happening there. In the end, it's the electorate, the voters. They choose who they elect. So there's also a responsibility for all the people out there that have a right to vote, to vote, of course, by conviction and by values, because many different parties defend their different values. So first of all, you have to look, of course, by the content, but then you often have a choice of voting for different people, and there's a strong decision to be made by the voters as well. So it's a joint challenge by the parties and by voters themselves. And I'm strongly hoping for 2023 to see a very good result there. I see the women out there, they are ready. And I talk to so many young girls that are a bit younger than me. They're in their early 20s, and they say, hey, you have shown us that it's possible to get elected as a young woman. We want to do the same. So they are ready, and so it's basically something that should happen very, very soon here in Luxembourg, and hopefully also throughout the world.
Very inspiring, definitely. No, I'm all for it. And if there's anything, of course, that I can help with the Chambre des députés to make that happen, know how to find me. So tell us a bit about you, Djuna. How did you get into politics, and why did you choose the Green Party to be the party that you want to represent?
Yeah, it's a good question. My mom is a single mom, and I'm an only child. So it was basically just the two of us at home. And so she's definitely my main reference. When growing up, she was the one giving me all this value-based education. And for her, sustainability is one of the core values that she transmitted to me. She was she is still member of the Greens in Luxembourg. So basically it was always something I felt quite close with. I joined them when they had meetings when I was small. So I had a very easy contact with it. Also to politics in general. Yeah, very natural. I think many people have quite a distance to politics because they don't know anyone, and it wasn't the case when I was growing up. So at the age of 16, I decided I was this young person still today, but I said, I want to change the world. I want to do something. I want to get active. And I was active in the Scouts, in the Youth Council. But I said, also on a political level, there's this super good tool to have an impact and have a voice. So it was basically pretty clear that if I joined a party, it would be the Green one. which I did. And then there were some quite inspiring moments, I would say. When I was a young person, the age of 16, I was discussing with our MP Camille Gira, who became a minister afterwards, about nuclear power. And he took so much time to explain it to us, the pros and cons. So it really was also very educative for me. And I grew into this movement, into the political debates. Obviously, I didn't know much at the beginning, so it's really a process. And then I went to university, so I had a bit of less time, but I was still a member. I joined the Red Cross. I was working for the Red Cross, where I was coordinating volunteers. So that was my first professional steps. And then I said, okay, in my mid-20s, I want to do job first. As many young people, you have to set your priorities. And I said, politics, maybe one day, but for later. But then life happens, as you know. And I met our Vice Prime Minister, François Bausch, here in Luxembourg on the street. It's the case in Luxembourg where you meet politicians.
Something, exactly.
And he said, let's grab lunch one day. And obviously, you don't say no if a minister asks you to have lunch. So I was 25 and I said, okay, let's have lunch. Then he said, so we have elections soon. Would you consider running for us? And I was like, well, I felt very honored. I mean, that's definitely, as a young person, something very empowering if a minister asks you and thinks that you are fit to run for an election campaign. So I said yes. It was really a decision I took from the belly, from the heart. I didn't thought it through much, but it was very impulsive. And to be honest, I never thought that I'd get elected. I was running. I was really engaged in the process, but I thought, okay, it's the first time that I run. Like, I want to have a good score, but I didn't have the ambition of really getting into parliament in the end of the day. And then at election night, at some point, well, that man, François Bausch, came to me. It was 1:00 in the morning. We were all celebrating because we had good scores. And he said, so can you come to the party's office tomorrow by 10? We should talk about your future career because it seems that you might enter parliament. And I was like realizing, and it was just started crying because, it was so emotional. And that's how I ended up here. And so now I'm in parliament for 3 years. I'm the co-president of this amazing party. And I'm covering topics that are very dear to my heart: education, social affairs, social inequalities, migrants, and culture. So more topics that I would say, are more in the social sphere of politics. And that's also part of the green DNA, I'd say. So often people think the Greens are doing topics like climate change and biodiversity, or public transport, which is absolutely true. And I think we're good in it. We're fighting for these topics since our existence. But obviously, in the meanwhile, we are in Luxembourg, a party that is a governing party. So we are covering many different aspects, and I'm more in charge of social affairs.
Yeah, it's nice to see, that it asks a holistic approach to get to the core of a problem, right? Yeah. So without being political, because this podcast is non-political, we want to educate and inform about all political parties. But that definitely was a very, very good overview on the Green Party. Another question to you, because that is something that I asked myself that question, and I could do easy research, but you are here and you are the MP and you are in the Chambre des Députés. I'm sure other people have had the same question. In the UK, I'm very involved in the politics in the UK because I have lived there for more than a decade. I would love to be more in politics in Luxembourg, who knows for the future. Now that I'm in Switzerland, I'm quite a lot in Luxembourg, so that would be maybe great too. But in the meantime, so in the UK, when you are an MP, you also have a job on the side. You are not just an MP. Who is Djuna when you are not in the Chambre des Députés? What do you do else?
Well, I am not working professionally anymore. So we have in Luxembourg the opportunity to be working 20 hours besides our mandate as politicians, which is, to be honest, quite challenging for those that actually doing it, because as politicians, your job is being at many events, in listening to NGOs, to civil society, in learning your texts and your like getting into the topic. So it's really what you make out of it. And personally, especially when you start that young, I have a 50-hour week, I guess, as a politician. And I'm the co-president of my party on the same time, which is purely volunteering. So I'm not getting any money for it, but I'm working, I say, 15 to 20 hours in managing our party, which is a lot of setting up trainings for our members, writing positions, doing all the public relations also for the party. So it's a whole package. So that's my political life. And obviously, you're also a politician if you are at the Croix-Rouge Bazaar, for example. So if you go to an event, you're a public person. Yeah. Obviously, also on weekend, and I'm sure, Tessy, you know that very well, people approach you that you don't know each other, and they have questions to you, and they want to know your position, and they want to take a photo with you, and all these kind of things. That's also part of my life. And it's just not like it's Friday, 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm just out of office and I don't talk to people anymore. So it's really a mandate that it's covering the rest of your life. And it's quite challenging to have some private life, like in between, I'd say. So going out with your girlfriend as a young person, it has become one of my biggest luxuries, having time with my loved ones. It's definitely, I realized how precious it is, and I'm sure you have that as well. Yeah. I'm a scout, so sometimes I really enjoy to do some scouting and go to the woods and like do very like basic things, but those basic things have become very, very precious to me, and also balance me as a person and bring me down like when I'm stressed. So these are the moments where also my mental health, like the levels go up, and I find my balance. So I'm sure everyone that is a public person has to have some mechanisms for himself to protect himself, to have safe spaces and moments for you to be yourself. And I think you realize how much you need them in order to be active all the time. But maybe you have similar moments for yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think as you say, to have your safe space and also the time just for yourself is as important as giving service to your community and to the people around you and to your country. Even though I am not in Luxembourg, Luxembourg is extremely dear to me. And the service towards Luxembourg has started when I was born in Luxembourg, and it will end when one day I'm not there anymore. And my children feel the same about Luxembourg. And so, yeah, it is true when the lines between professional and personal lives are so blurred as they are with you and also with me. It is really, it's demanding, but it's a responsibility, but it's also a blessing because you just have the opportunity to reach so many more people that way. So talking about reach then, because we have run out of time. So there's two last questions I want to ask you. One is, how can people reach you, Djuna? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a social media channel? People can interact with you if they have more questions, because I'm sure that young people listening to this would love to hear more from you, or at least get to know your life a little bit. I know that social media does not reflect someone's personal life, and that's important that I say that here as well. Yes, we have social media channels, but they only reflect a very, very, very small percentage of our life and something we really want to share with you. So do not be mistaken that social media reflects reality. I need to say that because there's a lot of bullying and a lot of suicide and a lot of low self-esteem reactions from individuals when they see social medias of people who are more well-known. And so if you need anything, if you have questions, just get in touch. Also with Djuna. So Djuna, do you have a social media channel that you want to share with our listeners here and the people who are watching us live on YouTube?
Well, thank you for bringing that important topic up, Tessy. I think you're very, very right. We all choose to show a certain part of ourselves, which is absolutely not always the full reality. And it's important to keep that in mind. I am on Facebook, on Instagram. I recently joined TikTok.
I did too. It's quite an adventure.
Yeah. So don't hesitate to DM me or to send me comments. So I try to engage with the people out there. And obviously also sending a letter and emails is for the more old school way. It's always possible for me. It's super important as a politician to stay in contact with people. So don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Perfect. So everyone listening and watching this live, Djuna Bernard on Instagram and Facebook and so on. You will find her there. If not, DM me and I will make sure you will find her accordingly. Last question, my dear Djuna, before I let you go for today, but I'm sure we will keep talking offline because we're very, very similar individuals and I'm intrigued about so many other things that you're doing.
We should catch up for coffee, my dear.
Yes, coffee it is. When I'm next in Luxembourg, which should be very soon again, because I have quite a lot of work in Luxembourg, even though I don't talk about it too much. But I do have my fingers in a lot of pies in Luxembourg. So it's always good to see and also to pick your brain on what you would do and maybe even include you into some aspects. So question to you, what is a book or a podcast or a quote that inspires you, has changed your life where you think, my gosh, I love it. It can be something recreational, it can be something political, it can be something inspirational, whatever it is. What is it that made for you what you discovered where you were like, oh, I want people to really get to know this too? Because for me, it was an eye-opener.
Well, it's very hard to take one thing out. I will just go with something that just came into my mind. It's a Netflix series. It's called Atypical. Atypical is a series about a young boy on the autism spectrum and his challenges in life and growing up. And for me, it was really, let's say, a game changer in my view of people with disabilities, how they manage their daily life, how they are perceived by others, and how they deal with very simple situations that might seem very challenging to them. And it's a very funny and very, very beautiful series. And I definitely recommend it for everyone to watch.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I will definitely go and watch it. There's some Netflix as well that I have watched, certainly when I was extremely pregnant and I couldn't move around anymore. One was a funny one. It's called 100 People, 100 Leute, where they do kind of games with 100 people on gender, age, and all of these things. It's hilarious. There's some really cool stuff there. Another one is actually the first year of a child, of a baby. And I thought I knew quite a lot because of Gabriel and Noah. And now having Theodore, I watched it and I learned so much about how much these little people actually already know from birth on, things that I would have never expected. So really cool documentary, even for people who don't have children. It's a really cool thing just to get to know human beings from the beginning. So yeah, everyone go and check out Atypical. Djuna's go-to recommendation today. Then this is one of a few of the Luxembourgish ministry series. The next guest will be MP Corinne Kahn, which I'm really, really, really excited as well. And another fellow female Luxembourgish politician who is also very engaged herself. And so tune in. This one will be available on 38 of your most favorite podcast channels. So just type in Zoom o'clock. Please share, comment, like, and rate, because only like that we will be able to reach more people from all around the world to listen to these very interesting people, such we had today. Djuna Bernard. Merci, Djuna. Nog een schönen dag und durch. Wir gehen da Kaffee trinken, ganz geschwind. Ich freue mich.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to this Zoom O'Clock. We hope this discussion was insightful and has provoked some new ideas for you. Please share and subscribe. If you like to keep in touch with your host, you can find her on Instagram under Tessy_from_Luxembourg and on Twitter under Tessy_DE.